Hey guys, so are you a woman who has been diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, RA, that's rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, Sjogren's, Hashimoto's, celiac? Yes, celiac and some of the IBS diagnoses are considered autoimmune condition. Are you a woman over 45 diagnosed with one of those autoimmune conditions, struggling with weight loss, 15 or more pounds? So I am speaking directly to you ladies. Hear me out here. There is hope. You can reverse the symptoms of your autoimmune condition. You can go into remission. I did it. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the women that I've helped. But I have 5 pillars that I totally believe in, that I know will help. I have helped hundreds of women lose weight because weight is a problem. Like I said, if you have an autoimmune condition, do you have joint pain? Do you have acid reflux? Do you have gut dysbiosis? All these are symptoms that kind of go hand in hand with any of the autoimmune conditions that you may have. Sometimes people have one or more. You know, oftentimes when you get diagnosed with an autoimmune condition and you just go on the meds, which is totally fine. And I want to remind everybody that I am not a doctor. I am not giving medical advice. This is for educational and conversational purposes only. I am here to help, yes, but always work with your doctor like I did. When I went into remission, when I reversed my symptoms, I was working directly with my doctor, monitoring my C-reactive protein, monitoring my inflammation, all of that. I worked with my doctor, and I encourage you to do the same. This is not an anti-doctor or an anti-pharmaceutical message, but it is a message of hope that you can reverse your symptoms using the 5 principles or the 5 pillars that I talk about. So let's dive in. I want to remind everybody, I'm not a doctor again. If you are liking what you're hearing during any part of this video, please click the like button and please subscribe and please watch any other of my videos that I have, or send them out to someone that you know has an autoimmune condition and is struggling, because these 5 pillars, like I like to call them, are really, really helpful and can really move the needle in relieving your joint pain, fixing your gut dysbiosis, relieving headaches, by the way, without pharmaceuticals. I know everyone's talking these days about reducing the amount of medicine that we're all on. And as you approach 50 and you're over 50, they may just, if you have metabolic syndrome, for example, if you have insulin resistance, if you have diabetes or prediabetes, you're just going to keep being presented by the doctors, by the medical community with more and more medications, because that's all they have to offer. They are not offering you nutritional advice. They're not offering you exercise advice. I love doctors, but that's not what they do. That's a news flash if you don't know. They are there to immediately fix the problem. We need doctors in our lives. We need the medical community. But when it comes to reversing the symptoms of autoimmune condition, they can give you a pill like I was on. I was on a pill, a couple of pills, and they relieved my joint pain a little bit, but after a while it doesn't work, or you need a different medication, stronger medication, more medication, especially if you don't address the root cause. And that's what we're going to talk about here with the 5 pillars. Okay, here we go. Pillar number 1, what foods to avoid. I'm just going to throw it down there right now and give you the bad news first, which you probably already know. There is a long list of inflammatory, allergic, and addictive foods that you're going to have to remove for a period of time until you can kind of get the inflammation and the weight loss under control. I think that if I just kind of stood here blank right now, you could probably fill in the blank on those. The problem is that people have a hard time, willpower and calorie restriction and all these kind of things. I'm just going to tell you kind of the big ones are refined sugar, causing a lot of inflammation in your life. It's very addictive and very harmful to your gut microbiome. So the refined sugar every single day in your life is not serving you. Overconsumption of alcohol, not serving you. What do I mean by overconsumption? Everybody has sort of a different view of what overconsumption is. I don't say necessarily that you have to go to 0, but maybe in the first 30, 60, 90 days of this journey, you might want to consider going to 0 alcohol. And you can Google it, you can chat GPT it, you can Perplexity it, whatever, Google search it even, of all the research that has been done on the damage that overconsumption of alcohol, every day a glass of of wine, ladies, during COVID. You know, a lot of us turned to wine. We were home all day and that sort of became a habit. So, you know, removing alcohol for 30, 60, 90 days is a great idea. Let's talk a little bit about gluten, wheat, gliadin, that whole category of food that's like the bread, the muffins, even if it says gluten-free, ladies. We want to remove the gluten and the wheat because that can be very inflammatory. This video, I'm not going to go into too much about why, but I think you probably have friends, you've probably been to Europe, and you can eat all the bread and pizza and pasta that you want, and you don't feel as sick as you do here. There's lots of reasons for that. So normally I say avoid, on the avoid list is anything gluten and wheat, even if it's gluten-free. Another thing you want to consider, at least temporarily, is that dairy. So the dairy can be very inflammatory, again, because of the way we're consuming dairy in this country. I say get away from that cheaper packaged dairy. Certainly people go back to dairy and you may have been told you're not lactose intolerant. You may have also been told you're not celiac. That doesn't mean that the dairy and the gluten and the wheat isn't causing some inflammation. So if you're really struggling with joint pain and it's really a priority for you to improve your health and get rid of the joint pain and get rid of the inflammation, I always start with avoiding some of the highly inflammatory, addictive, and allergic type foods. I'm not going to go into the entire list, but starting with those would be a good tip. Then pillar number 2 is adding in the nutrients that are helping you, polyphenols, fermented foods that are going to help your gut microbiome. So as we're removing foods, we're starving out the candida and the stuff that is sort of feeding the bad bugs in your gut microbiome. And we're adding in things that are going to help your gut microbiome flourish, right? So when we talk about probiotics, prebiotics, digestive enzymes, all of that stuff can be found in real whole food. So I have people removing, packaged foods. That's part of that avoid list, is the packaged foods in the middle of the market. But when you do that, you fill it in with real whole food, fruits, vegetables, animal proteins. I'm not a big fan of veganism and vegetarianism because after 45, you're relying heavily on carbohydrates, for your proteins, and that can become very problematic. Just to digress here a little bit about my story, I was a vegan and vegetarian for many, many years. I was strict about it. And after a while, it didn't serve me anymore. And I found out why. I was gaining weight around the middle. I was feeling more and more inflamed, even though I was on medications. So as I dug into the research, I realized that being a vegan and a vegetarian just relies too heavily on a high carbohydrate diet. You can't avoid it. All of those vegetarian proteins and the vegan proteins, the quinoa, the rice, the soy, the peas, the green peas, that comes with a high carb diet. And as we age, we don't do as well with high carbohydrate diet. Okay, let me turn to pillar number 3, intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting, watch lots of videos on why I'm a huge fan of intermittent fasting, but I want to tell you, intermittent fasting is what was the game changer for me. Now, I'm not talking about one meal a day. I'm not talking about 24-hour fasts, although those are more advanced fasts that can be very helpful in bringing down inflammation. I'm just talking about eating in a window, ladies. So do the little nutritional math in your head and figure out when you first put, not a calorie counter, but when you first put that calorie into your mouth in the morning, whether it be coffee with milk or breakfast or whatever it is, and just do a little math and just make sure you're eating in at least a 12-hour window. If you're already doing that, a lot of people come to me and they report that they can't eat breakfast, which is totally fine. That's the best way to dive into intermittent fasting if you're not doing it already, is to you're already fasting in the middle of the night, right? Already fasting for 8 or 10 hours, or, depending on how much you're sleeping, I guess that's clue. That's going to be the next pillar, sleep and stress. But before we get to that, the intermittent fasting piece is really just eating in a window. So you open your feeding window at a certain time, and then you close your window, and you're certainly not eating 3 to 4 hours before bed. So that's where that time restricted eating, you can go back to the research that has been done. We started learning about the more and more benefits. The biggest benefit of intermittent fasting, ladies, is anti-inflammatory. So anybody with an autoimmune condition, anybody with weight to lose has got to be participating in intermittent fasting. And I don't care what you hear about it. It's not good for your thyroid. It's not good for this. That has not been researched. And it could be, yes, that intermittent fasting done wrong can be stressing out your thyroid, can be stressing you out so that you're not losing weight. So intermittent fasting done right, which is eating in a certain window, not eating after a certain time, not snacking, not eating all day long every 2 hours. That was never researched. That was never a good idea. That's just raising your blood sugar and contributing to your not losing weight and metabolic disorder. So intermittent fasting done right can be very, very impactful. It was what was a game changer for me and for many, many women that I work with on healing autoimmune condition and lowering their inflammation. Okay, pillar number 4, sleep and stress. I cannot stress enough how much sleep and stress affects inflammation and all aspects of your life. So they kind of go hand in hand. So you want to make sure that you're sleeping through the night. You want to make sure that you're, doing all the things, right? To give yourself a bedtime routine. As we age, we don't sleep as well. And so we get into these bad habits, TV watching, waking up in the middle of the night, looking at your phone, all the things that you kind of got away from because you took a good night's sleep for granted when we're younger. And we've got that estrogen surging and the progesterone surging and all the great, female hormones that we have, we get into a habit of just taking our sleep for granted, that we can just put our head on the pillow and just fall asleep. Well, as women over 45 have a lot more stress, believe it or not. Our kids are leaving, our parents are aging. That creates a lot of stress in our lives where we've been married or not married. You look at our husband after the kids leave and say, do I still want to be married to that person? I thankfully, yes, do want to be married to my person. But, I totally get that happens in life where the kids leave the house and that's stressful, and it's stressful on a marriage. So stress comes into play and we have a lot of things to think about that we don't get enough sort of grace for and we don't give ourselves enough grace for. So stress and sleep go hand in hand because if you have stress in your life, it will certainly affect your sleep. So we need to be able to manage our stress. I'm not saying that you can just get rid of all your stress, but we need to be able to learn how to manage stress in different ways than we used to, let's just say. And that's a really, really important piece to bringing down your inflammation because as stress goes up, that's your cortisol. That's your fight or flight. That's your adrenal gland getting stressed out. And that is going to inhibit weight loss. And which in turn, like I said, is going to get in the way of bringing down that inflammation. Okay. Last pillar number 5 is exercise. So as a, reformed sort of cardio bunny, I get it, you ladies, I get it. I get the running. I get the HIIT workout. I get that treadmill adrenaline, that dopamine hit that we get from that cardio. And I'm not saying that cardio isn't good, but what I am saying is exercise after 45, after 50 needs to be adjusted a little bit. Strength training, I cannot emphasize enough. A lot of you ladies, and I was raised, if you're a Gen Xer like me, we were not in the gym strength training. Right? So that is something that's going to be really, really important as we age is to stay strong. And really, it's not going to be walking. Walking's great. A little bit of jogging here and there, depending on your, physical abilities. And if you were used to jogging for, the past 25 years, certainly you can have a version of that. But putting a lot of stress on your body, ladies, and not being able to do the same exercise every single day, that's a little bit of a clue. Moderate exercise. When we talk about exercising moderately, I talk to women a lot about a little bit of an indicator is if you can do the same workout the next day, that was a great workout for you. Exercising the right way is going to be a really, really important part of healing your autoimmune condition and not giving your body more stress than it needs. Because exercise is one of those things that is a good stress, right? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's a stress that makes you stronger. Intermittent fasting, by the way, is another one. It's a stress that makes your body stronger. Lots of research on mitochondrial renewal from intermittent fasting and exercise for mental health to help that stressful situation. Exercise is a great tool to implement, but not if you're stressing your body too much with the exercise. So if you are still watching and you like this video, if you have some gut dysbiosis, I've got a really cool tool to offer you. If you're still with me and this is still interesting, first of all, subscribe to my channel here. This is kind of a new venture for me, but I do have below here, it might be in the comment section, it might be just in my bio section. It's a gut check quiz, which is just a checklist. It's all you do is you sort of check it off, and it gives you a range of gut dysbiosis. And the reason I do it is because people with autoimmune conditions, and this is like a little known fact, I find interviewing hundreds of women in the past couple of months for my research, I have found that women have disconnected the gut dysbiosis, the acid reflux, the poor motility, the gas, the bloating, all of that. They've disconnected that from their autoimmune condition. And so I've created this tool for you to use, and it's totally for free. And just click the link there and you will get the checklist and you will find out where you are on that spectrum of gut dysbiosis. Because if you're in leaky gut category, if you've got severe dysbiosis, if you have IBS already, or if you have celiac, if that's one of your autoimmune condition, you've got inflammation in your gut, right? You already know that. But oftentimes people normalize, acid reflux, constant acid reflux or heartburn every single day is not normal, ladies. We have got to get to the root of that problem. It could be something you're eating. It could be that you don't have enough, probiotics in your diet or digestive enzymes in your diet, which you can get from food. I'm a believer in that, but sometimes we need a little help with that. So, which is in the form of supplements. So go ahead, and if that's you, click that link for my checklist that I've created for you. It's for free again, and find out for yourself how much your gut is in dysbiosis. It'll give you, I think, a number between 1 and 25. So that's all I got for you today. Those are my 5 pillars. If you like what you're hearing, please like the video and share it with someone who you think you can help, a sister, a friend who has an autoimmune condition that they're struggling with and they're worried about going on more and more medications. Okay. Bye guys. Thanks.